We will call to order the regular board meeting of the Chicago Board of Election Commissioners. Good morning. My name is Marisol Hernandez. I'm the chair, and with me today is Commissioner June Brown
Present.
and Commissioner Laura Kotelman.
Present.
Next item on the agenda is consideration of the agenda. Any proposed changes? If not, we will proceed with approval of the regular board meeting minutes of January 13, 2026. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved by Commissioner Brown.
Is there a second?
Seconded by Commissioner Kotelman.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Commissioner Kotelman votes aye.
Motion passes. Next is the Executive Director's report. Mrs. Spira.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioner Brown, and Commissioner Kotelman. I've been working with staff across all divisions to collaborate on projects and ensure alignment and preparation leading up to the Election Day. The last day to register to vote was February 17th, and the deadline for online voter registration is Sunday, March 1st. Grace period registration began Wednesday, February 18th, and will continue through Election Day, March 17th. Election judge training began on February 1st and will continue through March 13th. As of this morning, the total assigned election judges is 6,512, and 1,514 of that number are high school students. The total assigned election coordinators is 785. Logic and accuracy testing of the early voting equipment was conducted on February 10th and 11th and was completed on February 11th. Early voting training for administrators and election officials started February 11th and ends today, February 24th. The delivery and setup of all early voting equipment at the 50 early voting sites at the wards will be this Friday and Saturday. The first day of early voting at all 50 ward sites will be on Monday, March 2nd, and continue through Election Day. Early voting at the Cook County Jail will take place this weekend, Saturday, February 18th, and Sunday, March 1st, and will continue Saturday, March 8th, and Sunday, March 8th. No, will continue Saturday, March 7th, and Sunday, March 8th. As of yesterday, the total number of vote-by-mail applications is 157,443. These totals include 499 military and overseas and 3,393 nursing home voters. The total number of returned ballots is 15,638. The total number of ballots returned through the drop box as of yesterday is 884. The total number of early voter ballots cast as of yesterday is 1,699. At the warehouse, logic and accuracy testing of the Election Day voting equipment and poll books began February 17 and is expected to be completed on or before March 6. The delivery of the blue ESCs to the polling places will begin on March 2nd and will continue through March 16th. And that concludes my report.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. And so we have 6,512 judges assigned, but are we?
Our
we-
goal is it's normally 7,000, so we're close. There are some wards that still need additional judges, but some wards already are in good shape. But
Okay.
there is a couple of wards that we need more additional judges.
And then we
to be-
need extras, right?
Correct.
In case for cancellations. That's why
Standby.
we go to the 7,000?
Mhm.
Okay. So do you think that we'll get to the 7,000?
I hope we get to the
Yeah.
7,000. We also recruit standby judges for Election Day. Hopefully
Yeah.
they don't get sent out, but you never know. We do have, we have last minute cancellation, so
Yeah.
So the 7,000 does not include the standby?
That is correct.
Okay. So you have them like the holding location?
Yep. Yes, we do.
Okay. So we
Mhm.
need 7,000 in general. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Next, we'll hear from our Assistant Executive Director, Mary Beth Caruso. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. So we're gearing up for Election Central. We have reached out to a number of people, a number of volunteers. So far we have 35 people that have volunteered. We're looking going to do another outreach for more attorneys and for other staff. And this does not include our staff. So it's looking pretty good. We're going to be testing the phone systems not the weekend before, the Friday before, so that we make sure that everything's flowing smoothly and we don't get a lot of busy signals. We're trying to avoid that. So IT's working on that right now. Hiring plan, we have 19 vacancies. We've put in our hiring plan to the city of Chicago, and we're going to start the first round of hiring, putting out job announcements, we expect at the beginning of May. So we're doing it in 3 different phases. We don't want to do it all at once, too much going on. We want to do it properly. So we instituted a phased approach.
Okay. Makes sense.
Did you say you needed 35 additional attorneys for Election Central Day? Or
So far we have 35 non-staff. And so we're reaching out to get more attorneys,
Okay.
and more judges. to come out.
How many do you estimate we could use?
About 50, at least 50 people.
50 more or 50 total?
50 total.
So about 15 more. Okay, and I don't know, what's our outreach like to get these attorneys?
So we're using our pass lists that we've had, and I reached out to some attorneys that I know, and others are doing the same thing. So
Oh, that would be.
Adam could probably
Yeah.
speak more to that.
And Adam?
At this point, it's been primarily having our existing Election Central attorneys who know what the job is like and have been telling us for quite a while that they've got some people who are interested. They're supplying us with additional names. But hearing the numbers we're trying to reach today, I can increase that outreach too, probably by reaching out to various bar associations.
By reaching out to, sorry?
To various bar associations.
Right,
Yeah.
that's my
Yeah.
first thought, bar associations. In fact, the CBA, the election judge, the election committees,
Yeah, that particular committee, we know it well. Those attorneys tend to be pretty busy already on Election Day.
Yeah, but-
But they know,
Exactly.
yeah.
If
That's
they,
I mean, I have that email list, so that's the first place I'd look. But I also want to reach out to
I agree.
some of the ethnic bars that are not just Chicago Bar.
I agree. So if we could do that, and if we could get some bilingual judges in various other languages,
Yeah.
that would be ideal.
Yeah.
Ideal. So, yeah, if we could do that ASAP, that would be great, okay?
Thank you.
I don't
That's
know
all.
if you have any other ideas in terms of getting, but I think the Bar Association is the best route here. Any other questions for the Assistant Executive Director?
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary Beth. Public Information Director, Mr. Bever, little busy.
And Commissioners, it's been a busy month, so I'll give a few different updates, but first things first, right in front of you, happy
Uh-huh.
to say the new I Voted sticker is here.
Okay.
Looking pretty good, so that is currently what's at our 2 downtown early voting sites, and will be at all of our 50 ward early voting sites when they open on this upcoming Monday.
Okay.
This will be our sticker through the rest of the year, so people who are sending out the primary, and hopefully they will not, but they will see it in November as well. But
Oh,
just wanted to,
This is for November, too.
yes,
Okay.
and just wanted to
Mhm.
share that.
Have enough for November already, or not? We have to
Nope, we're all good. We're actually bought up for all the 2027 too, so I don't want to show the 2027 municipal sticker design. I didn't want to hold on to that for a surprise.
Okay.
But we'll have that a little bit later this year.
Yes,
But
that's
this is our
fine.
big unveiling, and have plenty of opportunities for our voters to take their selfies with their I voted sticker instead of their ballot, including in front of our new backdrop over at the super
Oh.
site.
Nice.
Thank you again to the chairwoman. We had our press conference to open up the super site for first day of downtown early voting on Thursday, February 12th. I think we got a lot of great press attention. We seem to have really got the word out that we have a new location over there. So we're seeing those numbers.
I assume there's still some stragglers that are going to the old location?
A few. Thankfully, they know. There's signage over there to get people to the new location, and I'm seeing our numbers on our website, especially for our early voting page, go up and up. So I think, thankfully, the word is out. As well as we've got our household mailer, which will be starting to hit voters' mailboxes starting this weekend. This is the mailer we do ahead of every election, letting people know their vote-by-mail options. It also gives them their 2 closest early voting sites and their assigned precinct polling place for Election Day. This mailer is also translated into Spanish, Chinese, Hindi, Polish, Korean, and Tagalog. It is starting to ship through this weekend, so voters can expect to see that in their mailbox soon. So this is yet another reminder of all of the different options to vote, especially their early voting options. They can go to any of these locations, whatever is most convenient for them. Just an addendum to election judge recruitment efforts. Those continue. I am working with our Judges Department. We did send emails to registered voters within some of our more troublesome wards, especially Ward 13 and Ward 23, where we see some of our greatest need. We've also reached out to all the different aldermanic offices and county commissioners with our graphics and recruitment materials, and we will follow up with the Bar Association as well. There'll be some additional advertising through the next couple of weeks, especially looking for our bilingual election judge support. However, those numbers are looking pretty good. Where I am impressed is we have many early voting officials who will be serving as bilingual assistants at our early voting sites. Those assignments are taking place throughout the week. We look to get that information out ASAP, which will be available on our early voting page, and we will get it out to media in a press release, as well as be available on our social media. Our first student-led parade to the polls is happening this Thursday over at the Super Site. This is in conjunction with our friends over at MCFA Challenge, Roosevelt University, League of Women Voters, Pizza to the Polls this time, Access Living, and the Chicago Public Schools Office with Students with Disabilities. So this is specific parade to the polls that is focused on diverse learners and educators across Chicago. We'll be welcoming students from Vaughn Occupational High School, Northside Learning Center, Southside Occupational High School, Gateway to Learning, among others. So we're looking forward to welcoming those students. It's always been a very exciting event. Working very closely with MCFA Challenge. We'll have press there, students who are ready to talk about voting for the first time, including several 17-year-olds. More student-led events are being scheduled throughout the next 3 weeks for the Super Site, including Chicago Votes, who will be bringing high school students next week. When we have more information, we'll continue to update that, and that info will also be on our website. We're also preparing for the opening of 50 Ward early voting, so we'll have another press conference, Chairwoman, over at the Super Site on Monday to get the information out, as well as sharing updated information and voter turnout numbers. Media interviews have been very consistent throughout the month. Thankfully, I think we've been garnering a good amount of attention towards the safety and transparency of our elections. So thank you to Ward crew, especially our Peeville crew, for letting media in 2 weeks back before the Super Site opened. I think this is a good practice to let people and members of the public see our logic and accuracy testing, see all the hours, all the hundreds of laws that are followed to prepare our machines and our sites as we prepare for Election Day. I think there's also been a good amount of attention towards our early turnout numbers. Of course, it's too early to say at this moment. And we opened early voting and sent out vote-by-mail ballots sooner than previous primary election cycles. But I think the word of the day is that these numbers look encouraging, and so we'll keep an eye. We know that primary elections can somewhat be unpredictable when it comes to voter turnout, but I think, these early numbers are encouraging. We're hoping to see good turnout for this upcoming election. And then finally, we have a new City That Votes TV show episode out. Clint Hurd, our pre-election and voting logistics
There you go,
manager,
Clint.
joined us to discuss all things vote by mail, as well as sharing additional early voting information. So that is now up on our website as well as our social media. And, our partnership with CanTV continues. We'll continue to have additional episodes that help get us this important information out. And that ends my report.
Okay.
I'm not sure who this is addressed to. I saw something or heard something regarding envelope confusion and putting some information out to address that?
Thank you, Commissioner, for bringing that up. That information is also on our website, our social media. We did send an email to every single vote-by-mail voter who had not yet returned their ballot, but ultimately, the issue is that the first round of vote-by-mail ballots that went out with the previous cycle's ballot return envelope that made mention of returning both an ballot A and ballot B. I think despite all of our best intentions for cost saving, especially when it comes to paper products, that was something that just unfortunately went out that we do regret any confusion. We did communicate and sent an email to all of those voters, as well as additional communications letting them know there's just one ballot for this primary election. They can use their ballot return envelope as normal. All ballots that are returned in that envelope will be processed, will be counted as normal. All ballot return envelopes that have been sent forward have that removed from that envelope, and this will be something that is top of mind for election cycles moving forward. We know that any information that might be slightly contradictory is not good for voters.
Right.
So when we did learn about this, we did follow up with these sets of communications. We have talked with the media. Thankfully, I think all of this moving forward, no one will see that on their ballot return envelopes.
So are did we use up those ballots? I mean, those ballot envelopes?
My understanding is, yes, all the rest of those ballot return envelopes have been used up, and any moving forward, that information has been removed.
Yeah.
This will be something, triple checked moving forward for the number of ballots in there. I think anything that's referring to ballots will just be a general notice. Ballot, parentheses, S, or another communication,
Yeah,
just to make
I
sure.
think that's all we need, and then we could use it. But it was confusing because I received it, and I had to call just to make sure that I wasn't missing anything. So I understand cost saving, but that comes, we have to balance that out with not confusing voters. Okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And everyone who would be impacted by that, the email would reach them, is that what you?
That's right.
Okay.
Mhm.
And possibly even ones who hadn't, but just to continue to clarify the issue, we want to make sure to communicate with every vote-by-mail voter that if they receive this ballot, they can return their ballot back as normal, and to confirm there is just one primary ballot.
Yeah. Let's see. I keep thinking about vote by mail and urging voters to get their ballot back early, mail it back or whatever, drop it in our Dropbox early. Are we going to send out an email to these voters?
We do. So the email that was just sent included that information as well as a
Yeah,
link to,
yeah.
and then we have additional communications
I
planned.
think it has to be a separate email.
Yes,
not,
we do-
"And by the way, because that's going to get lost.
We do, and we will have additional emails they'll be sending out to more over the next 3 weeks.
Uh-huh.
And especially heading into that all-important weekend before Election Day.
Yeah.
So March 10th is or the week before Election Day, March 10th is what USPS has said they recommend people. We want to send additional communications ahead of time, letting people know, but especially we will be pointing out all of their Dropbox options to get that back, letting them know that another individual can return as long as they sign their ballot return envelope properly, or to take that into their post office and make sure they're seeing that postmark be made with their eyes.
So when are you planning on sending out that?
By the end of this week, and then another one at least a few days before March 10th.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions? I think they're good numbers. I feel good about them, and, that we're going to get a little better than what we've had in the past.
Yes, Chairman, I think the silver lining, or at least I think the way I've been trying to frame with some reporters, is that we don't want people to be concerned, but I think a lot of this attention towards the postmark issue, a lot of this attention towards getting your ballot back as soon as possible, we're seeing that happen in real time. We certainly will have more reminders as much as we possibly can, but the more that we get back helps ensure that they can be properly processed and that we have less coming in on Election Day and after. So especially with these primary races and how close some of them might be, it's always, I think, good practice to get these back as soon as possible, and voters certainly are responding.
You know what, I'm just thinking, sometimes the local news provides updates on turnouts, and I know we provide that. I don't know if there's a way to stress to them or put in that email that we send out, again, reminder, send in your ballot early, to have the news media, when they report on numbers or anything, say,
Mhm.
and by the way, reminder.
Certainly, on
Yeah.
top of these additional communications to voters, they'll be going out as press releases. I make myself available for media interviews.
Yeah.
Thankfully, there's been a lot of attention on this in the press, and I think there will continue to be over the next 3 weeks.
think we have
Will
to
give us good opportunity to push
Continue
it.
to stress it, right. Thank you. Is that it?
Mhm.
I think that's good. Thank you. Old business, infrastructure projects and changes in election administration, including electronic poll books and voting equipment. Mrs. Sparrow, I think you touched upon everything, right? Okay. Legislation, Mr. Lasker,
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I actually have quite a bit of a report, if you
Good.
will indulge me.
Good.
First of all, I'm sure we've all read that the SAVE Act has passed through the House in Washington. It's now in the Senate with a questionable future. I'm obviously not walking the halls of the Capitol, so I don't know what's being talked about behind the closed doors, but from the media reports, under standard rules, legislative rules, it would require 60 votes. There's currently about 50 senators in favor of it. There's also talk about filibusters, a
Right.
talking filibuster, taking a procedure that hasn't been used in a long time. So we just have to wait and see what happens. I will just remind you that back when this bill was first introduced and publicized, we've had several meetings as a staff to talk about the ways that it would affect the board, to come up with to identify the issues and actions that would need to be taken. So, we will continue to monitor this bill, and we'll do what we have to do if the need arises. As far as state legislation, it is a busy time right now. They are in session. We've been receiving our updated reports from lobbyist Derek Blada. There are several bills that have been filed that involve election matters. One of them is House Bill 75, which is the Elections Omnibus Bill, and that does have sponsors including Speaker Welch and Representative Maurice West from Rockford, who's the chair of the Elections and Ethics Committee. So that is essentially the same bill that was introduced back in October, so we've kind of gone over that. There's nothing really alarming in it. I think the biggest change would be, for Mr. Hurd, the dates of, a slight expansion to the dates of doing early voting at university sites. So that's nothing we can't handle if it passes. I don't think that any of this is going to pass in time to affect this March primary. But certainly we'll be ready for it in November if that omnibus bill does pass. Another bill I want to speak about, because it's been introduced and it's been getting some discussion. It's introduced by Senate Bill 3170, introduced by State Senator Graciela Guzman from Chicago. It has added just recently to supporting Senators Emil Jones from Chicago and Senator Mark Walter from Arlington Heights. It is titled the Voting Rights Act of 2026. 45-page bill. I'm just about done working on a summary of it for the staff, but I'd like to discuss it a bit with you today in hopes of actually getting an agreement, a position from the board that we can take to the legislature on this one. As I kind of go through to advise you and the public, frankly, as to what it's about, I want you to listen. I encourage you to listen with my recommendation that there are financial aspects in the bill that are not addressed. So it seems to me that the board would be happy probably to carry out the requirements, but we need to raise the red flag about that it requires some serious funding and including staffing issues that I'm just not sure how much these legislators are talking with the city and the county that provide us these levels of funding. So let me just kind of dive in and let you know. Again, it's about a 45-page bill, the first half of which deals mostly with redistricting matters that do not apply directly to the board. We do not redistrict legislative or congressional or aldermanic wards. It's really targeting the election districts, not a voting precinct. So it's relatively irrelevant to us, but it does put new factors into the way that the legislation has to happen for the redistricting of those election districts. So that's about first half of the bill, but I'm going to leave it at that because it doesn't directly affect the board. The second half of the bill is about language access for voters. And it requires, among other things, that the state board, this would be beginning in July of 2027, and so that's after our 27 election cycle, but beginning in July of 2027 and every 2 years thereafter, the State Board of Elections would have a duty to analyze census data and make a determination as to which political subdivisions throughout the state meet the statutes, the proposed statutes, criteria for language access requirements. There are 2 tiers. Tier number 1 would be 3% of the political subdivision or no fewer than 100 people of the voting eligible age population are a language minority group, a single language minority group, and have limited English proficiency. Tier 2 is the same idea, but it's more than 5,000 people or 2% within the political subdivision. For those subdivisions that have those factors that are triggered under Tier 1, I'm going to run through the Tier 1 requirements. The Tier 2 are almost the same.
But
slightly
does
less.
that apply to us? Tier 1 and Tier 2?
Well, we would have to see the determination on census. Under federal law, of course, we have 3 language groups that under federal law are a requirement for us in certain precincts. And so I would imagine that under this threshold, there are going to be several precincts that would apply under the state law.
Okay.
And it's also possible, I'm no language demographics expert by any means, but it's quite possible that there are languages that are not required under the federal law that would be required under the state law. As you're well aware, the board has voluntarily complied with the Cook County language ordinance ever since it was enacted a few cycles ago. So that has expanded upon the languages that we serve. But this may even expand upon that. I don't know at this point. No one's provided me with any data analysis. But I want to go through the list here, 8 points in the statute of what the requirements are when triggered. Okay, so first would be to have official ballots and sample ballots in those languages. Second would be that any forms used for voter registration and for voting and any explanatory materials would be in those translated languages. All public notices relating to the electoral process in those qualified languages. They talk about in-language signage for ballots, for the availability of ballots, bilingual poll workers, and then we start getting into some of the things. It would require bilingual election judges in those precincts. Now we start getting into some of the things that would be additional, financial, staffing, and technological burdens on the board. So this is a quote about live over-the-phone interpretation services shall be made available and through the website at our local elections offices and at polling locations. There's express language about having, quote, a bilingual staff member who is trained in election and voting procedures who shall be made available year-round to respond to questions, issues, needs of covered languages and speakers within the political subdivision. Live language interpretation services by telephone during early voting election day and for any voter-related inquiries year-round. Then we also have, and then the final thing on the list is that any information provided about voter registration, polling locations, official ballots, and other voting-related materials and notifications would be in those languages. So one thing to consider is, the board has had full-time staff members now for the 3 language groups under the federal law. We
That's
also,
it, Spanish,
Spanish,
Polish,
Chinese, and Hindi
Spanish,
the-
Chinese, and Hindi.
are the three language groups. So we have full-time staff members that I think would meet these qualifications. They're here on a daily basis to answer inquiries. But when it comes to, for example, the additional languages we've been doing under the Cook County ordinance, we frequently just have translators who are on contract to come in during this time of year to work on translations, and all they really do for us is translations, and then they're gone, because they're just, under a contract. This talks about having year-round bilingual people in these categories. So, again, I'm not arguing against the idea. This would certainly serve our voters well in those language groups. But what I don't see in the bill is any discussion of where the funding comes from for these additional
Unfunded mandate.
yeah, an unfunded mandate, right? So, so it's my recommendation, and I would like to have your feedback on this one, because Sandra and Max and Joan Agnew and I have been talking about all the pending legislation. Mr. Bever and I are planning to attend. There's an election ethics committee meeting this afternoon. No specific bills on the agenda, so we're just going to attend to hear what they talk about. But I do think, in my humble opinion, it's important for us to just sort of raise a red flag about the funding issue here, because while these ideas, may be quite good, there's just not a lot of apparent consideration as to, we're currently in a hiring freeze imposed upon us by the city, yet this would require us to hire individuals on our staff for a year-round basis that we don't have right now.
Well, it's interesting because, so would this be state funded? The question, or do they expect us to go back to the city and the county and say, well, I think it's, my opinion, we need to, I mean, I think this is wonderful, the whole language access issue. But we need, if we're going to do it successfully, we need the money to do it. And I think the first thing we should do is go to the state and say, what about the funding, and try to insert something in here that says that the state will provide funding for
So
that.
there's also some ambiguities, I would say, quite a lot of ambiguities in this statute. And one of the most fundamental, that's another issue I'd like to raise, is the language in the statute refers to political subdivision. The definition in the statute, they do define that term. It means a geographic area which is organized under state or local law for the provision of government or other services, and which conducts elections administered by a local election authority, including but not limited to a county, city, town, village, school district, and other districts. So that's kind of strange language, because it would clearly be involving a city, a school district, a town, a village, but they don't actually conduct elections administered by a local election authority. So I need to get this figured out, because it's possible that these language experts, for example, would be the city's burden. Maybe City Hall is supposed to have a year-round employee who can answer these questions, who needs to get trained in the process. As I read, I'm not sure, sitting here today reading this language, as to whether they actually mean this would be the Board of Elections' responsibility. Because political subdivision, we are not really a political subdivision. We're a unit of government. We're just an agency under this, state circuit court. And with all this language referring to municipalities, counties, cities, school districts, it seems like the intent might be to put the burden on them for these services. But then it talks about those units of government that conduct elections.
Yeah.
They don't conduct the elections, we do. So that, to me, is a big ambiguity that clearly we need to have answered. And so again, without taking any position for or against the merits of the bill itself, it's my recommendation, at least at this time, at the very least, we take a position that we need to get some clarification on funding, and raise the issues about, to remind everybody that this will clearly require additional staff members and services, telephone lines and whatnot. So that's
I have a question, because wouldn't there be triggers too? I mean, we have the current touch screen. Doesn't that care for several of these issues in here? Because, or do we have to have paper ballots in addition to that, or we're not clear?
Well, that's a very good question. The bill does not specify paper ballots versus electronic ballots. And there's there's a lot of little things I could point out, but it talks about having sample ballots and official ballots available on the website. Sample ballots available on the website, I certainly understand. But the sentence says sample ballots and official ballots available on the website. And
Okay.
what does that mean to have official ballots available on the website? I don't think they intend that anybody can just download and print out a ballot.
Right.
Right?
And in addition to that,
But-
the triggers for the need. I mean, we have some languages where there are 5 people who use the ballot. So how do we decide how much of
It,
that we need?
it talks about 3% of the
Tier 1 and
population
Tier 2.
of a political subdivision. I don't know how many languages, and I don't know who knows how many languages, when you're talking the city of Chicago as a political subdivision, how many languages reach a threshold of 3%? I mean, that could be a pretty long list.
Mhm.
And then do we get, so we don't know if we get to decide, based on the need, how many people we hire if these people are not voting.
It seems to suggest that in the singular, if you qualify for that language group, in the singular, you have to have someone available year-round.
So we're mandated to, we may be.
We may be. But again, there's a very logical reading here. Almost, I think what they intended would literally be that for the city of Chicago as a political subdivision, the city itself would be required to have these people, these staff members.
So it's not necessarily the agency that has.
Not necessarily, it does not say that the election authority shall hire these. It refers to political subdivision. This is proposed to go into the election code. It would create a new portion of the election code. And in the election code, we, the Board of Elections, are known as an election authority. That's the statutory term that applies to us. Usually political subdivision means something completely different than us. But I'm addressing this bill in detail with you today because it talks about a political subdivision that conducts elections. And so I just think it's very important for this board to be aware of it.
Okay, it's 3%. Economies of scale, and touch screen generally takes care of our needs now.
We
Or do
have
print
paper,
those ballots?
under the federal ballot, we have paper and touchscreen ballots.
How many ballots do we buy if we're only getting 5 back? I've just looked at some audits information.
There are some, but for the 3 language groups that we have under the federal law, we get a lot of ballots, and we have a lot of voters in those populations. What you're referring to, though,
Is
Madam
overall.
Commissioner, is also the Cook County ordinance languages. We do have some languages there with very few voters that actually cast those language ballots.
So we
But-
buy full ballots for all of those?
For those languages, we have touchscreen ballots
We
only, I
have-
believe, but then,
Oh, okay.
We only have the Chinese,
Spanish and Hindi.
Spanish, and then
On paper.
Polish on paper.
Wait,
Only we're not required.
English, Spanish, Chinese, and Hindi on paper.
and
And
Polish.
Polish.
Polish. I'm sorry?
Korean and
But
Tagalog.
on paper?
How much Tagalog do we do? On paper? Tagalog?
How much, do you know our numbers on Tagalog voters? How many ballots
'Cause they
received?
speak mostly English.
It's just, it's,
I mean,
we have a number of precincts, both under 10, for Korean and Tagalog, but they do receive paper ballots and bilingual judges for Election Day currently.
oh, okay, well, I can see, because at the Election Central, I know we keep live lines
Mm-hmm.
for
Mhm.
all of the languages. There's
Mhm.
language
Yeah.
there.
So we have all of these on the touchscreen, all of
Yes.
these languages. And then in addition, we have the ones we just mentioned on paper, but we don't, when we say Tagalog, there's certain precincts, we already identified certain precincts. It's not that we deliver Tagalog paper ballots throughout all, whatever, 800 precincts.
You are correct.
Okay.
So we print a minimal amount, or just for those wards?
Enough for those particular
Correct.
polling places for
Correct.
Election Day.
Correct. And then they are available on the touchscreen in every precinct, every early voting site, every
Mhm.
vote center. on the touchscreen.
And to clarify, we have 7 precincts identified for Korean bilingual judges and paper ballots, and 11 for Tagalog.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
The statute, again, now, if this is something that for us would run at a citywide basis, it talks about 3% of the language group for that jurisdiction. It doesn't specify the breakdown on precincts the way the federal law does. So that's another question that I have for the legislature, the legislators, is, so if Chicago registers 3%, may we carry on like under federal law and identify those precincts that actually, under federal law, we look at the precinct. If the
Right.
precinct meets the threshold, then that precinct gets the ballots.
Right.
But this statute seems to be aimed at the city as a unit.
Right.
And so it's a very good point that we don't want to have to provide paper ballots
Right.
for 3.1% language all across the city.
Right.
Let's identify where they're at.
Right.
I've heard that this is sort of an attempt to codify in Illinois state law the federal law requirement,
Right.
just to preserve that under state law. But this is a little off
Okay.
in terms of,
And they're looking to implement this in July of 2027?
and again, this is if the bill passes, but yes, the bill expressly says that beginning in, what did I say, July 1st of 2027, the state board would start making the determinations. So it would really go into effect for the presidential primaries, what this sounds like they're shooting for.
Okay.
So we need to look at it.
And, yeah. I'm just checking again. So as of, the status has not changed on the bill. It was referred to the Assignments Committee on February 2nd. So again, this is not part of the omnibus bill. It's a bill that might not go anywhere this session, but it was just introduced, and it has these issues. And so I think that it's important for us to, for this particular bill, to have your blessing from the commissioners to raise these issues.
Mhm. Any other issues to raise?
There are some minor issues,
Minor?
yeah. And then,
Okay.
and again, I'm working on a much more detailed
Okay.
summary of it, so I'll send that to you
Okay.
when it's completed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we know
Um,
that the financial is your major one, but, okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's, like I said, there's some ambiguities, and if I were able to sit down, like, yeah, there's some other ambiguities that would just need to get tightened up.
Okay.
But the issue of which precincts would apply, the issue of, is this a city burden or a Board of Elections burden? If it's a Board of Elections burden, where does the money come from? Those are some bigger ticket issues that I want to be able to, I have historically attended some of these meetings, and I make it clear that I have my opinions, and I'm not here representing any official position of the board. But for this one, I think that we should have an official position on it.
Yeah. And
Even
then-
if it's neutral on the subject matter.
Yeah.
And then cautionary
Definitely.
about these issues we've been discussing.
And question I have is, we have our state conference of election authorities. I mean, is there?
With the AECOI?
Yeah, AECOI. Is there a reason that, for contacting someone there to see?
So, absolutely, and they have their own lobbyist as well.
Yeah.
And so, and he and Derek know about each other very well, and they work together on some of these matters. So this is definitely something that we are discussing with our friends there at the other election commissions.
Okay.
When is that conference? For AECO?
It meets, is it every December and every May, I think? There's like an annual meeting, and then there's a semi-annual meeting that's a little less formal.
Mhm.
Sure.
Yeah.
And commissioners are automatically members of that organization. You should always feel free to show up. They're fun events, to meet people from around the state.
I've been to the ones that have been in Chicago.
Mhm.
I haven't traveled elsewhere.
This is not the group. What is it?
No,
Okay.
it's different. This is strictly
is-
Illinois.
Okay.
It's Rockford, East St. Louis, Danville, Bloomington. Who am I forgetting? There's
Aurora?
6 or 7 of us.
Aurora, do they still have?
No, not Aurora. It's about, 6 or 7 of us.
Okay.
So I'm sorry that off the top
No,
of my
no
moment, I'm
worries, no worries.
forgetting
Well,
somebody.
I think I'm mixing it up with the group max.
I think it's important to talk, to set a meeting up
Yeah.
and discuss these issues.
Even if it's a Zoom. right? We can-
Yeah, yeah. And talk about funding and talk about these, you know, things that obviously they haven't thought about that could really impact us in terms of, you know, executing any bill that passes.
Yeah.
So these ambiguities, you know, what is a political, what do they consider? I bet you it should be election authority, unless they
Well-
think it's a political subdivision in terms of,
Again, their definition makes it sound like for us, the political subdivision would be the city of Chicago. But then it talks about the city of Chicago having ballots translated and,
Right.
and election materials translated, which clearly
And
the
I-
city doesn't do. We
I
do, so.
wouldn't want that. That is.
No, they
sounds-
should not be doing
they
our
should not be doing that.
translations for our
That-
materials.
That is
Yeah.
us, and
Yeah.
we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
So, I don't, does anybody have any different,
I'll look forward to reading the summary.
Okay.
Yeah, just, I haven't seen the bill yet, but they literally want a full-time staff person, not, like, for example, the state has to offer every language for hearings.
Right.
But the state has a contract with an outside firm that brings in the interpreters when you need them.
This is a quote. "A bilingual staff member who is trained in election and voting procedures shall be made available year-round to respond to questions, issues, needs of the covered language speakers within the political subdivision."
That's a lot of stuff.
And then,
Real time.
you know, I didn't even get to, there's also, it talks about holding a public meeting at least twice a year that has a two-month notice requirement, and to allow the public to provide comment on the language services. And one requirement there is to have live translation services, they call it, during those public meetings.
Wow.
So, like,
How
I
do
sort
you
of
have
envision a
that?
meeting like this, but over in the corner, I guess we have a whole group of translators sitting there
The UN.
speaking into translation
Yeah.
services, or,
Wow. We probably have to do something with that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I like Commissioner Kugelman's comment about, you know, should it be a staff member or
Right.
someone on contract, because what is that staff member gonna do?
If nobody calls.
I mean, yeah, so, you know, they're, the Korean translator, you know, but 9, 10 months out of the year, they may not be doing anything. I mean, it's,
That may be something we can
So-
really discuss with them as a group.
yeah, we would, and it's a great idea that we don't have to pay a full-time employee to just sit here by a phone that's not ringing in between elections.
Right.
But at the same time, to go on contract with an organization, it's not just a translator, they're talking about someone who actually is trained in the election and voting procedures. So it's not just any old translator that
Right,
could
right.
do this job, so.
right, we'd have to provide training and,
But I think you could do that with the consultant.
With the what?
With the consultant or contractor.
If you found the one person who's willing to say,
Because they usually
yeah,
will have specialties.
Yeah.
So I think you could do that.
Mhm.
I think that's a much more efficient.
Mhm.
I completely agree. I'm just saying it's not your
Economical.
standard, you don't just call a translation service and
No.
say, we need a translator in this language, and they've got 20 of them standing by. We would have to identify that one person
Absolutely.
who we train, and then they're on standby to answer.
And then, yeah,
the
and
call.
then, have certain backups, I mean, just to make sure that they're doing things correctly.
Yeah.
So, okay. So-
On that note,
On that
that
note-
concludes my legislative report.
Yeah, so I think we're all on the same page in terms of needing clarification and asking questions, okay? So
Absolutely,
please go
yeah.
ahead with Derek and whoever else.
We will. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Whew. Okay, so now we're on to new business. And we have a purchase order with Linden Meyer Monroe LLC for paper stock procurement. Good morning, Carolina.
Good morning, Commissioners. The Procurement Office is requesting your consideration and approval to purchase paper for the upcoming elections and is recommending issuing a purchase order to Linden Meyer Monroe. In total, Linden Meyer Monroe will fulfill our request for 23 varieties of paper stock that will be utilized for the upcoming elections, including but not limited to election judge and election coordinator training, mailings to election judges, and in-house printing of various Chicago Board of Election forms and correspondence. Linden Meyer Monroe has proven to be reliable and responsible with providing the board with various paper.
Okay, any questions?
Now, is this for the coming March 17th, or is
This
it the whole?
will be for the next 4 elections, actually.
Oh, okay. That is wonderful.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve a purchase order with Linden Meyer Monroe LLC for various kinds of paper stock with a total cost of $41,367.32?
So moved by Commissioner Brown.
Seconded by Commissioner Kodelman.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Commissioner Kodelman votes aye.
Motion passes. Next item is a bid award and contract with Marketing Card Technology LLC for printing and mailing of the 2026 primary election household mailer. Carolina?
Purchasing has reviewed, evaluated, and recommends awarding a contract for the invitation for bid printing mailing for March 2026 household pre-election mailing. Purchasing is recommending Marketing Card Technology LLC. The IFB was competitively bid, and the award selection was based off comparative total cost based off of the basis of award meeting the lowest bidder's requirements. Marketing Card Technology LLC is the apparent lowest bidder. In response to the IFB, the board received a total of 15 responses from the following vendors: Marketing Card Technology LLC, DIS Direct, Runbeck Election Services LLC, Cardinal Color Group, Johnson & Quinn Inc., The Envelope Connection Inc., J.J. Collins, The Shealy Group, REG Oklahoma Acquisitions LLC, Fort Orange Press Inc., Grace Printing and Mailing, Liberty Creative Solutions Inc., No Inc., Modern Litho, Vimello, and Cebus. 2 vendors were disqualified due to incomplete bid submissions. Marketing Card Technology LLC is the apparent lowest bidder to provide the board with printing and mailing services for the March 2026 household pre-election mailing. Marketing Card Technology has worked as a subcontractor with J.J. Collins on our voter canvass previously, so they are well acquainted with our operations and processes. The board was satisfied with their products and services. Please consider granting the award of contract to Marketing Card Technology LLC beginning January 27, 2026 through March 17, 2026 in the amount of $40,200.
Any questions?
Okay, I know this is a ratification, but I just have a quick question. Was this included in the general plan for the election administration prior, or is this a new need, the marketing card technology?
Oh, well, this is something that we do for every,
Right, but is it in the general, it's like budgeted in and
yes,
factored in?
I
So,
believe it was, but.
well, I guess I should ask Mr. Bever.
Yes, in fact, we're seeing increased cost savings. I believe that you had shared the price, but this came in just over $40,000, where this has usually been $80,000 to $90,000 in the past. As well as our new nonprofit postage, we're expecting to save increased postage for this mailing for the first time, too.
Okay, I got that, but I mean, as we generally present in the overall budget and action plan, so is this something that was in there, or is this something that came later?
It is, and it has been every year that there's an election cycle is requested through the city budget.
I don't know if I'm saying this right. Do we put it in there and put it out initially, or is this an addition to what was asked for the election administration, and we need to look at putting everything in one general form?
As I understand, this has been at least for the last 3 decades. This
Yeah, maybe I'm not saying this appropriately. Right, I know we do a household mailing. I'm saying rather than having a separate contract now at this time? And why don't we put it in the initial?
Oh,
Be-
but
well,
the
it's a
forms and
separate bid.
envelopes is a different contract. Yeah, that's just printing out, and this is actually having, there's a lot of coordination with this one. This company does, I mean, they double check the addresses of our voters and generate the
After
actual.
we send
I
the
think-
initial out, and that's why it's not put in the general request?
That's right. It also requires a mailing house. So rather than printing forms, this is a vendor that is required to mail it, to properly process it, to process national change of address, and other requirements that aren't of just print vendors.
So
Or
this
it-
is, I'm not sure if I'm asking right, but this is what you do after you get the mailing, the initial mailing information back?
No.
Are you referring to the voter canvas?
I think she's referring to the second notice under our Canvas mailings.
Right,
And this is-
and why is this not in the general before? Why are we getting it now in February when we didn't, rather than in the whole of it? What's this contract date?
So
Later.
this contract, well, it was I mean, we're backdating, but it was as of January 27th.
Yeah, I know it's ratified. I'm just saying, in the general election plan for administration for the upcoming election, does this go in there and it's just something we didn't put in there, or do we do this every year?
This has traditionally been a separate procurement that's on the
I know it's a
list.
separate procurement, I'm looking at the date, timeline. Why is it asked for now rather than last year? We don't know what we need, or? Is anybody, am I missing
It's just-
everybody?
Why the household was done separately and more closer to the election than to before the
Okay, so
election.
we
I
do-
see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's, yeah, why didn't we have it in the general overall view of the work that we do for administration?
Or why didn't we have it done earlier in time instead of now? That's, I think.
Yeah,
I
could
think
see-
the unfortunate answer here is just because this is how we've always done it. That
Okay.
doesn't mean we need to do it that way in the future.
I was just
but,
asking,
yeah,
is it
yeah.
a?
I mean, it was brought to my attention, and I
Yeah.
tried to turn it around
Yeah.
as quickly
No,
as
no,
I
no,
could.
this you're turning around, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying as we look at the full picture of election administration, everything that we can get in there,
Oh,
put in the budget, do we push it all out, and is this just some separate, or like General Counsel Lasker just said, it's just how we've always done it, we put it in. Well, maybe we'll look at it next time when we do our strategic plan, of that it should all be included in it.
Yes.
I got you.
Well,
I
I'm
got it.
working
I
on
think you got me.
procurement live, so hopefully we should be getting.
I got you, and I'm not saying
Should
that
help
you've
us
done
prepare.
anything. I'm just asking what the process, that's all. I was just trying to process it in my mind that we're getting this for now. And I understand now. I don't know if you understand me, but I got it. Okay, I'm done. For now, ratification, moving on.
Okay, and given that, is there a motion to approve and ratify a bid award and contract with Marketing Card Technology LLC for the printing and mailing of the 2026 primary election household mailer at a cost not to exceed $40,200 over the term of the agreement, which shall be from January 27th through March 17th, 2026.
Commissioner Kodelman moves.
Seconded by Commissioner Brown.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Kodelman votes aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Motion passes. Okay. Next is a contract with Transwestern Real Estate Services for installation and updated central office facility hardware and systems.
Purchasing has reviewed, evaluated, and recommends executing a contract to Transwestern per their proposal to complete the installation of 4 access card readers on the 6th and 8th floor of the board's central offices, along with 4 A-phones to tie into the existing access control system. The scope of work includes electrical work, hardware installation, and integration with Secure 900. The board recently signed a lease agreement with Cook County, of which includes occupancy of 4 suites located at 69 West Washington. Transwestern serves as a real estate company that manages the building on behalf of Cook County, including facilitating tenant alteration requests and monthly rent payments. In an effort to improve security measures at the board central offices, multiple departments, including purchasing, finance, IT, and people, have requested the installation of card readers and A-phones to control access to specific locations. Transwestern drafted a proposal which includes 3 subcontractors Glavin, CECO, and Allied Universal, whose roles were determined by their respective capabilities and the scope of work required to ensure successful installation of all components at each location. Additionally, please see included documentation which details amounts that have already been expended to Transwestern and Allied Universal for fiscal year 2026. And that I had included in my memo. It was a breakdown of all of the expenditures. Please consider executing a contract to Transwestern in an amount not to exceed $88,466.30. Please note that this expenditure will be submitted for reimbursement via the Illinois State Board of Elections Voter Registration State Grant. The amount to be reimbursed is to be determined upon review of the invoices by the State Board of Elections.
Okay.
I have no question.
Okay, thank you, Carolina. Is there a motion to approve an agreement with Transwestern Real Estate Services for the installation of new office security hardware at the board's central offices at a cost not to exceed $88,466.30 over the term of the agreement, which shall begin on February 24, 2026, and continue through successful completion of the projects?
So moved by Commissioner Brown.
Seconded by Commissioner Kotelman.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Commissioner Kotelman votes aye.
Motion passes. The next item is a contract amendment with J.J. Collins Sons, Inc. for the printing of ballot privacy sleeves. Carolina?
Purchasing is requesting your consideration for approval to amend the current contract with J.J. Collins for the invitation for bid, printing of forms, envelopes, signs, handbook stickers, hybrid form, envelope 276P for the 2026 and 2027 elections. Purchasing issued a competitive bid solicitation seeking the lowest responsive and responsible bidders who had the capability to perform the services being requested. On November 25th, 2025, the board approved and ratified an award to J.J. Collins Sons, Inc. in the amount of $87,195.05, of which the vendor agreed to provide goods and services set forth under Group B and Group I. The amount provided in the vendor's bid for privacy sleeves referenced the incorrect specifications, and as a result, the quoted amount listed was inaccurate. The vendor provided revised product specifications and provided updating pricing, which requires additional funding in the amount of $12,600. The additional pricing provided by the vendor is still the lowest of the bids received for this particular print request. Please consider approving an amendment to our current contract with J.J. Collins Sons, Inc. in the dollar amount not to exceed $99,795.05.
Okay. I think I understand. Okay. Is there a motion to amend paragraph 4 of the board's contract with J.J. Collins, Inc. for the printing of ballot privacy sleeves to increase the authorized expenditure to a total of $99,795.05?
Commissioner Kotelman moves.
Seconded by Commissioner Brown.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Kotelman votes aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Motion passes. The next item is a resolution authorizing the disposal of materials from the February 2023 municipal and older person elections, the April 2023 municipal runoff and supplementary older person elections, and the March 2024 general primary election. And this is Mr. Lasker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The warehouse has been hounding me as they're starting to receive materials for this March primary that they need more space. As the board is well aware, under federal law, we have to preserve materials from federal elections for at least 22 months, and then it's for 9 months for the local elections. So these time periods have elapsed for the stated elections. We have no pending litigation, nor are we anticipating any. So we request the resolution for disposal of authorization for disposal of the materials.
Okay. Any questions? If none, is there a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the disposal of materials from the February 2023 municipal and older person elections, the April 2023 municipal runoff and supplementary older person elections, and the March 2024 general primary election in accordance with the Illinois Local Records Act.
So moved by Commissioner Brown.
Commissioner Kodelman seconds.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Commissioner Kodelman votes aye.
Motion passes. And we have also approval of the board's 2026 guidelines for local option referenda. Mr. Lasker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Under the Illinois Liquor Control Act, binding referenda that we call local option can appear on a general election ballot. So the guidelines that I've sent out to you are applicable to the November general election coming up this year. As a reminder, for these referenda, the petitions are filed with the Office of the City Clerk. Any objections to those petitions are heard by the Circuit Court. So all we do is receive ballot certifications from the City Clerk's office, and then we operate those the binding referenda when there are some. So the board has a long history of just providing some guidelines that we put on the website. I will say that it helps answer a lot of calls for people. I do get phone calls from some, usually attorneys and community groups that are trying to do these kinds of things, and it's nice to be able to just say, here's a link to our website. So.
Great. Thank you. Any questions? If not, is there a motion to adopt and publish the 2026 guidelines for local option referendums presented by the General Counsel?
Commissioner Kodelman moves.
Commissioner Brown seconds.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Kodelman votes aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Motion passes. And finally, we have a legal services agreement with Burns Nolan for contingency litigation, counseling, and representation. Mr. Lasker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have previously discussed my request for this legal services agreement. Mr. Burns has served in these for these purposes and many others as outside counsel for the board before. And so just requesting as a contingency for the upcoming elections that we have an agreement ready to go.
Great. Any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve a legal services agreement with Burns Nolan LLC for election-related contingency legal matters at the rate of $295 per hour with a durational term beginning February 2nd, 2026 and continuing through the 2028 presidential election cycle, including any post-election litigation?
So moved by Commissioner Brown.
Seconded by Commissioner Kodelman.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Commissioner Kodelman votes aye.
Motion passes.
Commissioner, there's that
Thank you.
resolution.
Now we go to legal report. Mr. Lasker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do want to start just by sharing that Sandra and others from the board, we've had meetings now, pre-election meetings with the FBI, the Illinois Attorney General's Office, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, the Chicago Police Department, and the Illinois State Board of Elections as we prepare for the upcoming elections and possible contingencies. I think that all of the meetings have been very fruitful and productive. We do have a new contact in the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. He's working under the supervisor that we've been working with for years, who is still directly involved with us, but I'm also actually pleased to sort of help get him up to speed as to how we have our relationships for
Right.
Election Day and for election services. So
Good.
in addition to that, I am preparing with Ms. Caruso, the attorneys for Election Central, and updated briefing materials for when we have that briefing session. And believe it or not, I've also just started working on the 2027 election calendar. Our February municipal election is a year from yesterday,
Oh, my God.
right? Sneaking up on us. So always looking towards the future. That's my report for today. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? No? Okay, so now we'll go to financial reports. We have a balance sheet and voucher listing for the City of Chicago 2025 appropriation, number 25-09, dated February 24, 2026, in the amount of $732,114.42. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved by Commissioner Brown.
Seconded by Commissioner Kodelman.
Probably moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Commissioner Kodelman votes aye.
And then we also, motion passes. We also have a balance sheet and voucher listing for the County of Cook, a 2025 appropriation, number 25-09, dated February 24th, 2026, in the amount of $1,425. Is there a motion to approve?
Commissioner Kogelman moves.
Commissioner Brown, second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Kogelman votes aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Okay, thank you. And that does it for our financial reports. And now we have public comment. And have we received any requests for public comment?
I haven't requested because I got here late.
Okay.
I'm willing to comment.
Well,
always have something
I
to
mean,
say.
if you would like to, fine. We have, before any further public comments, I'd just like to express my deep, the board's deep condolences to the family and friends of the Reverend Jesse Jackson, and extend those condolences to Operation Push and all its members who've worked along with the Reverend Jackson, who've worked so hard to provide all of us with access to voting, and he has definitely been a leader and advocate of voting rights, and he will be sorely missed. The good news is that he has had many mentees and people in his life who I'm sure will carry on this legacy and continue the fight for equal access to all persons eligible to vote. So our hearts and thoughts are with his family and friends and Operation Push. And I'd like, would you like to approach the podium? And you just identify yourself for...
Yes. Hello, everybody, commissioners and everybody else. I'm Don Olson from Illinois Ballot Integrity Project. I'd like to talk about transparency. We need more transparency in our elections in this country, not only in Chicago. And I wish we had more procedures that would provide transparency already in place, but we don't. The number one thing I'm looking at is hand-counted risk-limiting audits. Right now, I think 5 or 6 states have something that could be called a hand-counted risk-limiting audit, but all the rest fall short. That's something I think we should be working toward. And that in itself would provide a lot of transparency that might calm down some of the brouhaha that's in the country right now. We've got people on the far right and people on the far left promoting various kinds of election reforms that would not provide more transparency, and in fact would provide less transparency, and bring up all sorts of problems. You know, on the left, we've got the SAVE Act that could kind of reinstitute Jim Crow laws all over the country, not just in the South. And on the left, we've got things like ranked choice voting, which from a poll watcher standpoint is pretty much of a nightmare as far as monitoring the count. So, specifically what I'd like to talk about is poll watchers, because poll watchers really are the key to knowing whether an election is valid or not. And a risk-limiting audit would be something that would happen in real time during an election. before the proclamation of results. And poll watchers are the other thing that happens in real time during the election process. So we need, again and again and again, as I'm on the ground, in polling places and here at the board doing poll watching, but I see this all from a little different perspective than election lawyers see it, or maybe than the commissioners see it, or than the general public sees it. Because I'm on the ground and I see what the real issues are. There's sort of the theoretical view of our elections, and then there's the reality on the ground. And poll watchers, although there aren't enough good poll watchers, enough really educated poll watchers out there, but poll watchers are a key to transparency. Poll watchers are the eyes and ears of the public actually in the election. On election day, before the polls open, while they're open, after the polls close, election poll watchers really are the eyes and ears of the public. So we need to be supported in every way possible. And everyone needs to know. I can't tell you how many times I've been in a polling place and an election judge hasn't really known what poll watchers can and cannot do. And I'm talking about election judges as well as election coordinators. In one of our last recent elections, I had an election coordinator tell me that I wasn't allowed to stay in the polling place after the polls closed. And we had to call down to the Board of Elections to find out if I could. Now, that's something an election coordinator should know. So, what I'd particularly like to talk about today is the Judge of Election Handbook.
Okay, and you have just,
And I'll wrap this up
and-
fast.
Yeah, you have 2 minutes.
Uh,
Yeah.
I have recently been informed that this handbook, in its hard copy version, is not going to be available to groups like Illinois Ballot Integrity Project for the general election this year.
For
But
the
the-
general or the primary?
For the general. This is the new one for the primary. But I've been told that for the general, you'll still be printing this up for election judges, but it won't be available to poll watchers or organizations like Illinois Ballot Integrity. And that is a real problem, because this book in the polling place is so valuable. I've had so many experiences where judges of election didn't know what they were supposed to be doing, and I was able to show them in the book. Having the actual hard copy of the book is so valuable to a poll watcher, because as much as we would like to believe our election judges are well trained, they aren't all well trained.
Okay.
I mean, even things like, in one instance, I will wrap this up. I won't go on forever. But things as drastic as I went into a polling place and the election judges didn't know that they were supposed to look up the signatures of the voters in the polling book. They were just letting people fill out the applications, and they sent them on to vote. And it wasn't until one of my poll watchers called me, and I had to go to the polling place. And these were smart people. These were college students who had kind of, at the last minute, had volunteered to be election judges. But they didn't know they were supposed to be looking up these signatures in the poll book and compare the signature on the application to what was in the poll book. That's pretty big stuff. And it's because of this book that I was able to say, here, look at this page, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And this is not what poll watchers are supposed to do, but I actually had to train the election judges. And they were very thankful that I did. But that's why it's crucial that this book be available to poll watchers in the future. And I understand it's expensive to produce this, and you're trying to cut costs, but this is not a cost you should reduce. This is absolutely crucial to poll watchers. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you,
you.
Mr. Olson. Do we have any further public comments? Okay. Do we have a need for executive session?
Not today, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, if not, then is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved by Commissioner Brown.
Seconded by Commissioner Kotelman.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye, Commissioner Brown.
Commissioner Coleman votes aye.
Motion passes. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank